Hello, everyone. Welcome to Firefall Live. We're going to have a great show for you today, and I really mean it this time. We're going to be talking about battle frames. Yes, advanced battle frames. Everyone's been wondering about those for months now. What are we doing with them? So what we're going to do is we're going to show you what you're going to see on PTS, which is we're going to patch in content up to level 30. The current plan, we're hoping for next Tuesday. Obviously may change. So you guys will be able to test these out, but we wanted to show you, get you an idea for all the changes that are coming to the advanced battle frames up to level 30 and the things that are ready for testing for the next PTS push. And we're going to have a little bit of something in there as well to show you that you haven't seen on the forums yet. Those weren't real spoilers. Anyways, today I'm joined by the lovely Mika, and of course, if we're talking about battle frames, we have Cowboy, the
lovely Cowboy.
The lovely Cowboy.
The lovely Cowboy.
Our lead combat designer.
Yeah, so I'm super psyched to be here.
I'm super, yeah, I mean, this is going to be pretty sick because, again, everyone's been wondering, and I've been, like, poking you, like, what can we talk about? I'm like, not yet.
It's real tough to hold back, but I'm glad I finally get to sort of spill the beans now because we've been working really hard on getting the advanced battle frames sort of up to snuff, ready for play.
Yeah, and they want us to spill all of the beans, apparently. Like, well, we'll spill some of the beans.
Most beans will be spilled.
I mean, it makes a mess.
Who's gonna clean it up? Like, come on.
Seriously.
Wasn't thought out.
All right, so I think the community would like it if we dove right into it and talked about the battle frames. So we're going to start off. I took some game capture. I didn't have time to take game capture of all of them, but I took game capture of 6 of them. The one we're going to start off with today is Dragonfly.
Yeah, so the Dragonfly, we took a hard look at all the battle frames, and we wanted to make sure that each one really felt like a dramatically different play experience. Because if you hit max level on any battle frame, you should be able to restart and really refresh your experience.
Yeah.
And so, like I mentioned on the forums, part of our goal is like driving these battle frames apart as best we can. So accentuating their weaknesses and amplifying their strengths. And so here we have the Dragonfly. The Dragonfly has been pushed even further into that support role. You know, the support role being the main reason why you probably picked the Dragonfly in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the obvious thing to start with any battle frame is their primary weapon. And so the Dragonfly, her primary weapon can shift into one of 2 modes. There's an offensive mode and a defensive mode. Now, or support mode, I should call it. It starts on support mode by default. And like you see very briefly, we have a healing tether. The healing tether drains your jump jet energy, because as a support player, you should always be able to help your team, sort of regardless of resources.
So it doesn't take ammo.
It doesn't take ammo. It just consumes your jump jet energy, which also means there's sort of like if you're not in position to start with, you probably had to use your jump jets to get there. So you're gonna arrive to the scene a little drained. But if you positioned yourself correctly initially, like you're by the people you knew who are gonna take damage, your jump jet should be good to go, and you can immediately start using those to produce healing for your friends. And then secondarily, the Dragonfly is sort of such a clutch part of any really competitive team. That healing is super crucial. We wanted to build a gun that allowed the Dragonfly to really take her own life or provide value for her own life. And play in a way that kept her safe, because like if the Dragonfly gets herself killed, that a lot of times can trickle down to the rest of the team. So the Dragonfly's offensive mode is similar. It's like a bio-assault rifle, but if you hit a target enough times within a certain time span,
I think you'll see a little bit of this.
Yeah,
you're gonna lock onto the target. And so you can do really interesting moves, like you can hit a target, see that you've locked on, duck behind cover, and then fire over that cover and watch your shots arc and track to that target. For, I think, a total of like 2 seconds.
I think it was, 2 or 3 seconds.
2 to 3 seconds.
So yeah, one of the cool things, and we didn't show that here, but like one of the things I was playing with in like Nothing Map, I'd spawn Baneclaw and I'd like take 5 shots at him, turn around and just fire into nothing, and then you just see them all arc around and hit back, track back. And again, it's a short duration.
It's a short duration.
And you have to hit.
And you actually have to land not just 1 shot, but multiple shots within a time span. But you get rewarded for your accuracy by being able to basically not be exposed to the enemy while you're firing.
I'm really good at this game,
dude.
guys.
You're brutal. You're so brutal.
I'm really good at this. Like, look how good oh, good. Wait, you didn't show the, okay, never mind.
So Hold on, let's back up. Let's stop and because I don't think we're done with Dragonfly just yet.
Yeah. So some of Dragonfly's abilities have changed, and there's a lot going on in there, and I'm not sure if I can keep up with the video.
Yeah.
But
we could play it again.
Yeah, but the Dragonfly's abilities have changed to really make sure that each one has its own specific purpose. So Healing Pillar stayed ostensibly like everyone knows and loves it.
Yeah.
It does a really good job of telegraphing to your friends who might not know that there's someone that wants to help them.
Yep.
And so you throw it on the ground, it makes a lot of noise, it creates an area, and everyone knows to jump in it. And so we kept that one mostly the same. Whereas Healing Ball, that kind of fulfilled a very similar role and was really tough to use.
Yeah.
So Healing Ball now acts as our clutch heal. It heals instantly, but it also heals even more depending on how much health the target you're healing is missing.
Yep.
So if a target is like really high health, you can top them off, but it's not going to be super useful. Whereas if they're like down to 0%, like down to 1%, it'll heal up to 300% is normal healing capacity. So it acts as like a really strong clutch heal. Additionally, it also blocks healing on enemies. So if you run into like a chosen healing drone, for instance, you can hit them with your healing ball, and it'll dampen your enemy's ability to be healed.
Nice.
So it kind of pulls double duty depending on maybe you lead in with it. Maybe that's how you alpha strike your enemy, and that's how you lead into the charge. Because you're going all offense with your team, and that's what's going to be helpful. You want to end it quickly.
Yep.
And then Emergency Response is one of my favorite abilities that the
Yes.
Dragonfly has. So Emergency Response, before it shot you, forward some.
Yeah, it was like a
created
big
this-
leap.
Yeah, but in looking at sort of what that class was supposed to be doing, we just didn't feel it fell fully in line with how we wanted them to be playing, and we wanted some way that the Dragonfly could be hyper responsive. You don't always have line of sight to that target that you're trying to heal. You can't always get there soon enough to be able to reliably hit one of your abilities or even use your healing tether from your primary weapon because it's kind of short range. And so Emergency Response now, even through cover, will teleport you to a targeted ally under your reticle. So if you're in a squad, for instance, you'll see them through terrain, and you can just pick them out. Like, I know they're low health, boop, and then you teleport straight there.
So you goes through collision.
It goes through collision, goes through anything. It's just range. Are you
That's
within
awesome.
the fairly generous range of this teleport? And you're just going to zip straight to your ally, do an AoE healing pulse when you arrive, and then get a buff to your healing output for a short duration.
That Dragonfly love. That's really cool. So I mean, that's really, I think that's a massive improvement. Sorry, Mika.
Relive this like every day.
This was my favorite part, though.
Guys, I'm hoping.
Boop.
Oh, never mind.
Not really.
And so I kind of wonder now. So they've been looking at this. Oh, by the way, so this is the thing you were seeing on the forums.
Yes, so this is what Phobos has been trying to spoil. Last time we showed off the battle frames, we showed off the core battle frames in a core combat test zone, which was like
It's
an
internal-
airy space repurposed with BSP all over it.
Right, and we use it for like really controlled testing. It keeps the number of variables that are changing to a minimum.
This is actually a piece of content that will also be available on PTS for level 30 players.
Yes.
Right? This is an always maximum thing. This is a new game type called Holdout. So you're in this area, and you're basically defend the repulsor against endless waves of Chosen.
Yep. So we built. We wanted to make sure that there was always some way that even our most skilled players could find a challenge in our game, and also that you can always sort of scale into, no matter how good, no matter how well geared you are, how good you are, how well synergized you are with your team. There's going to be something that really, tests your mettle, and so we built a game mode that infinitely scales. And so you're defending Jericho, a base, while some automated drones are trying to extract resources from it, all while under the duress of Chosen assault. The Chosen are going to keep coming, and the base will fall. So your goal is just to hold out for as long as possible. And then every 5 rounds, an extraction dropship comes in and gives you the option to leave, and that's how you sort of cash out.
Yeah.
And so you have these moments where you go, I know next round is going to be harder. Do I want to cash out now and get my rewards? Or do I want to press my luck and try and stay for one more?
Yeah.
And the longer you stay, the better rewards you get.
And
And
then-
then if you fail, you get half rewards.
If you get defeated, yeah, you get rolled back to the reward, the tier you completed, and then you get half of that.
Yes, yeah.
So you're going to want to pick that moment of when you want to cash out. So yeah, that's a really, I'm really excited for that game type. We've had, it's been a really intense, those play tests that we've been going through, we've only made it, I think when Mika and I did it with Brad, I think we made it to round 8. or
That
9?
was 10.
Was it 10?
I want to say 10.
We've
that
now
was
we've-
proud of us.
Yeah, internally we've gotten as high as like 12 or 13. We really expect the community to really prove us wrong.
Yeah, they're going to
and
go
hit,
way
like,
beyond
and,
us.
and hit 20. But we've also sort of accounted for that. Like we know that our community is when they really put their minds to it, they can do things we never expect. So.
They find all the broken synergies and
well, yeah, but like synergy is
powerful
like,
synergies.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I don't
There's
mean
a big
broken.
difference,
Give
yeah.
more credit than
There
that,
is a very
Frank.
big difference. You're
Give more
absolutely
credit.
correct there. But yeah, that's going to be and we're going to have a blog on that on Tuesday. Yes. We're planning to release a blog on Holdout on Tuesday, but we wanted to pair it in with the battle frames, because what better way to show off the advanced battle frames than in an endless dungeon?
And an endless war.
Yes. So next up, the battle frame we want to show off was Bastion,
Yeah, so.
which is another fan favorite.
Naturally, he's got minions. Who doesn't like minions? And so, yeah, I played a lot of Bastion. And so when I came to work here, I sort of had this wish list of like, oh, as a Bastion, I really wish I had X, Y, and Z. And then I got the opportunity to really sort of fulfill those wishes. So what you're going to see here is his new primary weapon, which is the proximity mortar. And so what this weapon does is the primary fire launches grenades that can attach to targets or any terrain, kind of like you guys are used to. But they detonate on proximity. So you can create minefields that the enemies are going to have to run through, and they're just going to set off. Additionally, you can also create healing mines or repair mines, and they have no offensive capability whatsoever.
Yep.
But that web you see on the ground are these little mines attaching repair tethers to all the nearby deployables and repairing them over time. And it's not just turrets, it's any deployable.
It's any deployable. So
So healing
the Sentinel
generator,
pod,
Sentinel pod.
overclocking
Teleporter.
station.
Yep.
Teleport peak.
Yes, we know that one works.
Oh, we
for
haven't gotten
sure.
there yet. Hold on. Slow down. That's another great ability
Foreshadowing.
change.
Yeah. And so the Bastion sort of has, especially with the battery power, that change. He's got what I kind of view as he's got this pack of hungry dogs that he has to keep fed.
Yeah.
And you can with the Tesla rifle, you can feed one dog really well, and you can keep him up under a lot of strain. But when you have so many, it's hard to split your attention. And so this weapon leans itself towards having just tons and tons of deployables, because just about everything he has multi-deploy. And then also with shield wall. His ability, and we've done some slight renaming on some of the shield abilities to make them more clear. So his ability is called Shield Wall, and what Shield Wall does is kind of what you guys remember. It has max deploy now, but we really wanted to make sure it was useful, because there's a lot of circumstances where you're just like, why am I using this? And with enemies being so much more lethal, having cover on demand is huge.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
also the health is much higher, because it's sort of an equalizer. No one can shoot through it. So we wanted to make sure it had enough health that it's something you could trust. So it comes down at level 30. Right now it's got 60k, about 6 times more hit points than a player does. So it's enough that you can actually get behind it and get some stuff done. It's really great for reviving. That's kind of one of my favorite purposes for using it.
In that shot there, but previously it held up against the Juggernauts, the Elite Juggernauts onslaught while you were reviving someone.
Mika. Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say it.
I mean, it was a Dragonfly.
Hey, everybody went
so-
down. It was a little editorial license.
Oh, you should have seen the playthrough we did with Rico and Carly.
Yeah. Additionally, the Sentinel pod, it just doing raw repair and pulsing this damage really fed in, it didn't have a defined role of its own. It was sort of like a charged pulse generator, but for the most part better because it was a little more reliable. It was an AoE healer. It did a lot of things, and we wanted to make it a little bit more active and synergize with them a little bit better and be less of just a landmine. So the Sentinel pod now buffs the fire rate of all turrets it's connected to.
Nice.
And when you heal the Sentinel pod, when you actively heal it, it'll pulse a heal out for a percentage. It redistributes the repair that it gets to all its connected
So
turrets.
those repair nanites, when they heal the Sentinel pod, it's then pulsing out a repair to those turrets.
Well, repair nanites being as passive, that one actually doesn't do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean the nanites. I meant the mines. The
Yeah,
mines
yeah.
that you're
So
laying
the
down
mines, the Tesla rifle, whenever you repair the Sentinel pod, it'll take a percentage of what it was repaired for and then distribute it out to its connected
there. So
allies.
you
it's a
can
force
really,
multiplier.
if you wanted to, you could really sustain a nest.
Right.
Assuming no incoming damage to the deployables.
Yeah,
you can sustain it for quite a while.
I think one of the strongest, if you really want to never budge, I would say one of the strongest combos is you do deployable shield Sentinel pod, and multi-turrets. And you just fill your deployable shield with multi-turrets, and then the Sentinel pod is going to be helping repair everything. In addition to all your repair your repair mines that you're going to be tossing around. So yeah, that one's gotten a lot of love. I'm a big fan of the Bastion, naturally. But that being said, like I really, really like the Bash. I always have, and so it's just been quality of life for him for the most part.
Yeah, people are bringing up like potentially AFK thumping. Bastion's gonna be king. Well, the repair.
They
mines,
despawn like it was like 10 seconds or something.
Yeah.
Like you have to keep laying them, and then there's also a resource game that goes on because you can only have a total number of mines out equal to your magazine capacity. And
Okay.
so you have to choose between, do I want to use my mines for shooting at enemies and blowing them up, or do I want to use them for repairing?
Yep.
And if I have like a minefield out and I start throwing down repair mines, it's going to start despawning
Yep.
like the oldest mine on the field. So you have a finite number of mines you could be using at any given time.
Now, is it still the case where if you directly hit an enemy with an offensive mine, that it will not consume one that's laying on the field?
That's true. So if you can't, yeah, that's right. So if you can actually nail them directly, and you're not like wasting proximity mines on the field, that's sort of your reward for being accurate with this lob weapon. Is you can you can keep nailing them, but you miss one, it lands on the floor, it's going to suck up one of your repair nanites. So
Okay, cool. So I mean, I think that's a pretty good look at Bastion. I think we covered a lot of it there.
yeah, and anyone who's familiar with Bastion, I mean, his play hasn't changed overall. He always was really well defined. He always had this really good feel to him. He was this unmovable, sort of like stalwart defender. And I think we've maintained that pretty well. That being said, his primary weapon damage output is purposefully pretty low, but oh my god, his turrets hurt so hard. Like a lot of his power has gotten shifted into his turrets and into his deployables too. But that's sort of the whole point of the class.
Right.
Yes, we can see your chat, by the way. Oscar581, which perk are you talking about there? I'm going to pop that back out to you. Next up, we have, I believe we wanted to show off Raptor. Yep.
Yeah.
Yay.
So there's Mika again as a Raptor. She makes a better Raptor.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
and there's Trailblaze.
we'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get to that.
Yeah, everything's so overlapping so much. So Raptor, one big challenge that we wanted to address was driving apart the Raptor and the Nighthawk and trying to figure out why they're different. And so the Raptor, I kind of viewed as like the strategist. The damage model on the Raptor's gun has changed a little bit, mostly just to reward rapid fire a little bit more than we did previously. Landing as many shots as often as possible is still your best damage option, but with how lethal enemies are becoming, sort of exposure time to enemies is a really precious commodity. And so when you dip behind cover, your weapon charges up and you basically gain this big boost of front-loaded damage when you pop out of cover. But you're going to see, and Mika did a really good job of this during play, is while she's fighting from the back line, but she's always throwing her teleport beacon.
Good job, Mika.
And so what the teleport beacon does, and you don't see it here because she's just popping heads like cray, is when she finally, finally throws her teleport beacon.
I was like, Mika, you're headshotting a lot, and she's like, is there any other shot?
Yeah, exactly what you do.
I did say that.
And okay, well, we can talk about Power Field. And so Power Field, there's a handful of buffs that always felt really awkward to maximize, like how do I best use this buff? And you would get it and you'd want to move away, but then it would sort of stick around and you'd have this onus to want to sort of stay in. Do I stay in the Power Field? Do I move out of it? How's the best way to use it? And it also sort of resulted in the best way to use it was to not move within it, and it gave us a hard time controlling how powerful it could be.
Yeah.
And so what we've done, and you don't see it in the replay because the person in the replay, the magical camera in the replay isn't picking them up. Once you pick up Power Field, it goes away for the person that picked it up. So it's kind of like everyone's going to see a different version of Power Field depending on whether or not they've gained it or not. Once you move through it, the Power Field like shrinks. You can still see it exists, but it's like tiny and clearly it's not usable again. And so everyone can pick it up once. So it's something you're meant to just sort of like, you just sort of dip through it. You see a Power Field there, you don't have to stay in it, you just pop through it real quick and then go about your day. And the duration has been played with to sort of compensate for, the duration of power have been adjusted to compensate for this.
And there's a teleport beacon.
Oh, and so teleport beacon, we wanted to like push on the strategist aspect of Raptor, and so teleport beacon is a lot more player friendly. Like your friends can use it. So when you throw the teleport beacon, all the old functionality exists. You can activate it again to teleport to where you wanted to go. But additionally, when that teleport beacon lands, it creates an active arc portal.
Yep.
Between those two locations, and any of your friends can use it, and they can endlessly go from one end to the other.
For as long as it's up and
Right.
can be destroyed.
And it can't, like, enemies will shoot it, like if they got nothing better to do, they'll shoot it and take it down without too much trouble. But it's a great way to say, like, if I had to use teleport beacon to escape from a fight, there's a reasonable chance that maybe my friends also needed to escape, or we're trying to cross a big gap, or maybe we want to get from one piece of cover to another, and there's like a juggernaut in the way. I want to go and revive that person over there, but I can't get to them for whatever reason, because there's, you'll see, like, sometimes you'll have like 3 juggernauts tromping down the field, and they basically one-shot you, and so you want to try and not get seen by them as best you can.
Teleport beacon trolling, you have to interact with it in order to teleport.
Yes,
And
it's
it
an
can be
E to
repaired.
interact. Oh yeah, it can it?
Yeah,
Was
you were
that?
repairing it, and it made me very happy when we
Oh.
were playing. I was like, it lives forever.
Yeah, and then we're using Sin Scrambler right there. Sin Scrambler basically hasn't changed. That was always a really fun ability.
Yeah.
You get to, turn their allies against them.
Yeah.
And one thing we noticed is Sin Scrambler basically got a massive buff without us touching it at all, because our NPCs have gotten a pretty substantive buff. Like, so if I see a chain gunner tromping down the field and he's got a bunch of grunts around him, his grunts are my best weapon, and I can usually just hit the chain gunner and then just leave. And I can trust that the grunts are going to clean him up for me.
Well, in that one shot there, we saw Mika hit one of the fat babies with a Sin Scrambler.
Oh, yeah.
And
Thanks,
the
my
one just turned
puppets.
around and just started shooting it. It was great seeing Juggernaut fight Juggernaut. Someone asked there on chat, does the portal go both ways? Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. So you can go. So like a great example is like there's a Juggernaut. There's something really lethal, a chain gunner Juggernaut on the field, and someone's gone down. I can teleport over to them, like throw my beacon over, teleport to them, revive them, and then both of us can teleport back to safety. So and there was a, I don't know if you captured it. I really hope you did, but there was this beautiful moment.
No, that replay broke.
Oh, it's so sad. There was this beautiful moment where there was just like teleport beacons just sort of strewn about pretty regularly, and there was a mortar shell sitting there on the ground, and we have these. One of the units tosses a mortar shell on the ground and it pulses before it detonates with basically a one-shot kill. Like, it does a ton of damage. And I was almost dead, and it was sitting there, and I was like, I'm never gonna get away from this in time. And then I looked to my right, and there's a teleport beacon sitting next to me, and I got to like zip through it milliseconds before that thing went off, and it felt so good.
So awesome. I mean, that was the one thing. Beacon was like the pro at teleport beacon. So
It's
It's like Pokemon. Why don't you just throw
how
the
did-
ball?
yeah.
I choose
Really?
you.
That's how do you do
I
this?
practiced my whole life for that.
How did you get so good at it?
It's Pokemon, man.
What's the headshot damage on the Raptor? I guess it's variable. Depending on the charge.
By a baseline, the charged rifle has a headshot multiplier of 2x, 2.5x. Something pretty similar to the R. I think it's slightly less than the R36.
Yeah.
But the base damage is higher than the R36.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say I think it's 2x on that rifle. But it charges up to, if you allow it to charge up over the course of 2 seconds, it gets to 5x damage. So it starts at, you can fire pretty fast, but it starts at basically 20% of its total damage, and then over 2 seconds it charges to 5 times its damage, and then if you headshot, it doubles. So a full charge with a headshot is 10 times its base damage.
Okay. People are asking about the HKMs as well. One person asked about the HKMs. So the HKMs aren't complete yet because we're
the advanced frame HKMs.
The advanced frame HKMs, correct? That I promised I would call that out.
Oh, I'm here.
The advanced frame HKMs aren't complete yet because we were focusing up to level 30, which is going to be for PTS. We're shooting for next week. So we wanted to complete everything up to 30 for that.
Right.
And then those will follow afterwards.
Right, because we're rolling out the abilities. We're trying to like pace the experience out, because with the change with how progression works and how you don't have to like go to 40 with your cord and then reset and start from 1 to 40 again with your advanced, you get your advanced frame at level 20.
Yes.
And so we've been trying to pace them out. So you get all your basic accord abilities at 10. well, almost all of them. And then you get your final Accord ability at 15, and then you get your advanced frame with his first ability at 20, and then 25, 30, 35, 40. And every 5 levels, we're going to be giving you something new because we want to make sure we don't throw the whole toy box out, and then it gets really stale immediately. And
So there's going to be abilities that we haven't shown or we haven't talked about here yet.
Yes.
That you're still working on.
Yes.
That you'll be able to see later on.
Yes. Yes.
So-
And the advanced, I mean, like I can just say now, like the advanced frames are all getting more abilities than anyone has ever seen. We'll be rolling out even more, so they're going to be expanded.
Nice. That's really exciting. So yes, 20 to 30 progression. We're probably going to wipe characters, but I was talking to Phobos. We might want to do something once people get up to 30 to try and see, like, hey, what kind of combinations?
Right.
Can
We're really interested to see what, like, with all the sort of high-end scaling that we've introduced and you know, legendary items and things like that. We really want to see how people can break our game and what these, what like the coolest and like the best synergies that they can come up with are, because we've been doing a lot of work trying to figure them out, but genuinely no one's going to do it quite as well as our community does.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep thinking, like, I want to see them, like, what they do with power field, turret mode, and overclocking station. Because I mean, we can talk about the Electron really quick.
Yeah, and it's a great synergy. Yeah, the Electron has had a lot of really cool changes. One of the big ones is, and you're probably not going to see this during this very, well, you actually will. You'll see it on the primary weapon. You can elementally attune his shields. So if you have a cryo shock rail, then you'll put cryo shields on people, and then they take reduced damage from cryo damage.
Oh, that's really cool.
Or, you know, so if you're having a hard time with shock troopers, you might want to stay energy. If like the chemical bombardiers or like some of the melding bucket give you problems, you might want to have a chemically attuned shield. Or if you're just dueling recluses a lot and you want to be a jerk, you can go with a chemically attuned shield.
Now that applies to the deployable shields as well, right?
You're not going to see the abilities that like they're set up to do so, but you're not going to see those roll out quite yet.
Okay.
So right now, what you're going to see on PTS is just the shock rail, but that'll be a good introduction to the whole system. And then we've also, Boomerang is really fun, and we were working on Boomerang, and so the playthrough that sort of got borked was where I was playing Electron, and he's really, really fun. His gun is really weird, and you're going to see it, and it would take... whatever. His gun's really weird. You guys are going to see it and play with it, and I think you're really going to like it. But Boomerang, we were playing with it, and we had a lot of ideas of what we wanted Boomerang to do. But as we started working on the effects and things, like the effects started coming out really, really well. And we're like, I really want to use this thing a lot. And we liked the idea, and we heard a lot of Electron players. They like the idea of feeling like a caster. Like they can use tons and tons and tons and tons of abilities. I have a lot of things with charges. I get to use them very frequently. And so we gave charges to Boomerang Shot.
Yes.
So that you can use like 6 or 7 in a row.
That's so crazy.
And Boomerang Shot now, when you it stacks a buffer debuff that can stack up to twice. And the buff, if you hit an enemy, it applies vulnerability. They take more damage.
Okay.
And then if you hit an ally, they get armor. They take less damage. And so you're really, and it can stack up to twice. So you're really incentivized to cut it through a friend and a foe.
Yep.
And have it hit in both directions, so they get like the maximum. At a baseline, I think if you hit an ally twice with it, they get 40% damage reduction.
That's really good.
It only lasts for like 2 to 3 seconds, but you get charges, so you can, once it falls off, you can do it again, and again, and again, and then the baseline cooldown for it is kept really low because we want this something that you're like, that's something signature about the Electron. There's constantly this energy just like flowing in and out of him from his foes and his allies.
And I wanted to talk about like even the weapon, right? When you hit the target with the weapon, they take a little bit of damage, and then after 2 seconds, a little pop, and they take a burst of damage.
So that one was kind of interesting. There's a lot of like sort of recoilless beams in our game, and we want to make each one feel like its own experience. And so having it just deal bulk damage just didn't feel like it was identifiable enough. So now if I hit you with my, more like that, if I hit you with my shock rail, you're gonna take very little damage, and that's really just so you know you hit. It's like 10% of its total damage, and then it's gonna static on them for 2 seconds and then pop. And then if I strike you again before it pops, it's gonna stack a second time, and the delay is gonna be extended. And if I strike you a third time, you reach sort of critical mass, and not only do you pop, but you pop for bonus damage in an AoE that applies 1 stack of static to everything around it.
Right.
And so you get this, like, his damage sort of ramps up as you're managing these stacks properly. You pick someone in the middle, you stack them 3 times, it pops out, and then you pick someone else, and then you stack them twice, and then it pops out, and then you hit a third person once, and then it pops out, and then hits critical mass on the entire group. And so if you're playing really, 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 really well, you'll just drop an entire group all at once. Like that's sort of how it feels like, because you're getting these stacks to sort of cross-pollinate, and everyone sort of like raises as these stacks sort of jump from Mika to Frank back to me, and then over to Mika again, and eventually everyone just sort of explodes all at once. So that one is really fun, and it really incentivizes you to hit all of your shots, because if you miss too many shots, then the stacks are going to degrade, and you're not going to hit your critical mass.
And the other thing I noticed is the rate of fire has been increased.
Yeah,
compared to what's on live.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I want to say it's like twice as fast.
Yeah, I mean it's significantly noticeably faster.
Well, it just makes it feel a lot like. I mean, jacking up rate of fire is just a really easy way to like make a gun feel more punchy and more active, and there's just less downtime between shots.
Picture confetti when pops out. Can we make that
It has to happen.
Can we make that a variable effect? They just like pop for confetti.
I don't. That sounds like right up Live Team's alley.
It really does.
That's like 4th of July.
Ghost Jaguar.
Shock rail.
Ghost Jaguar, take note. We can totally do this. Yeah, so we covered the Electron a little bit. And overclocking station got a big change.
Did it?
I'm pretty sure, because right now
it makes lots of noises now.
It does make it goes.
So
it sounds like the blue shell in Mario Kart. It's like
well, so you know it's there. Like if someone throws it down, you need to know that there's like a buff that can be acquired. And the audio team did an awesome job with that. Oh my god, I love it so much.
But I think on live it currently like buffs movement speed, and I think it gives you like a rate of fire buff or something. Jade energy, something like that.
Otherwise, anyway, that's the word I was trying to say. Yeah, now it just boosts your damage. It's pretty simple. It boosts your damage, but the deployable itself has a really short duration, and it sort of like falls down really quickly. But you can put charges on it, and so you can sort of like litter them about, and it kind of keeps you mobile by having charges on these stations and having the stations have really low duration. It kind of means as the battle's moving, you can sort of always be throwing them in front of the battle, and people are always running through them. Because we wanted the Bastion is sort of identified by his stationariness. Yep. Like he puts down and then he's there, and you're not moving him, and that's his life now. But the Electron sort of is really responsive. Jumps from here to there. It can throw these shields out and kind of keep up with the pace of a really quick moving battle.
Nice. Cool. So we showed Raptor. We're on Mammoth now. We're going to show Mammoth next.
Cool. So the Mammoth was the Mammoth was my second 40. Bastion was my first 40. Mammoth was my second, and I had a lot of fun with this one because something I really like about the Mammoth is, teleport shot. Okay, so teleport shot, it now has a lot more functionality than it did before, like actually useful functionality, I'd say. You can't just teleport literally anywhere. You have to have a target elected, so it needs to be something under your crosshair to be able to teleport to it. But if I teleport to an enemy, I do damage, like always. That's a really fun thing to do, is to telefrag enemies. But if I teleport to an ally, I have to have line of sight on it, so it's not quite as sort of free as emergency response.
Right.
But when I teleport to an ally, 100% of the damage they normally would have taken transfers to me.
At a reduced rate?
No, that's what other abilities are for. He's got a bunch of other abilities. Every time he uses it, his passive is also going to activate. And his passive, the Rhino and the Mammoth passives swapped because it just makes way more sense. The Rhino is really aggressive. Oh, those are the. Those guys are sweet.
They are pretty sweet. I just wanted to call that out, sorry.
Yeah. Just because it makes more sense. The Rhino's very aggressive and offensive, and he wants to keep you close. He's really good at close range combat. And the Rhino's supposed to be this big tank. So every time you use an ability, the Mammoth's a really big tank. Every time the Mammoth uses an ability, he applies a shield to himself. And so when you teleport to an ally, you are going to have a shield on you because you just used an ability. And then 100% of that damage that you would take flows to me, and then basically gets absorbed by my shield.
I think if you guys pay attention, there are a couple moments where, this was Brad playing the Mammoth, there are a couple moments where he teleports to me, even when I'm downed, and then you see like a little tether, and it applies to me, and then I have like a blue, like...
you should turn silver.
That's what it's silverish.
Silver.
So it's noticeable on who's being affected by what. So it's communicated very well.
And his gun got a huge change. So the primary fire looks very familiar. You're probably not calling out anything in particular. The alt fire, in general, we tried to strip off a lot of like the shotgun duct tape to X for our weapons, and so the shotgun alt fire is gone. But what you do get is it's similar to the old sticky grenade launcher, where you attach these disruptors to the target, and while they're attached, the target has reduced movement speed. And then you can alt fire to detonate them, and that's where the power really comes in. A lot of his damage is kept in that detonation, but also it stacks a debuff up to 10 times on that target and all nearby targets. That taunts them to attack the Mammoth, and also reduces their damage output by up to close to 50%.
Wow. That's crazy.
And so you start to like, and so it combos really well with his shield abilities, which if I have an energy attuned shield, it's going to take half damage from energy damage, and then I debuff your damage even further. So you're taking like 25% damage, and it's all going towards the shield. And so yeah, you can do things like you can just stand in front of a chain gunner
like that.
And
trust me, I did that with an assault. I went down immediately.
Oh, yes. Immediately.
Yes.
But you can just stand in front of a chain gunner and just soak those shots for your team. And then also it makes sure those chain gunners or whoever it is isn't shooting at anyone else, and so everyone doesn't have to worry about exposure time. Everyone can just sort of sit there and just start railing damage. And so that's the sort of hidden power of the Mammoth. Individually, like it's a Mammoth, he's pretty good. But as soon as you get like if you get Nighthawks at your back, for instance, these Nighthawks don't have to hide. They can just concentrate on hitting these headshots because there's no shots flying towards them.
Wow, that's great. I mean, that's a huge improvement. That really like solidifies the Mammoth's role as like I am the one to soak the damage for the team.
Yeah, and you're gonna notice like he's not your DPS dealer anymore, and that's what I talk about when saying like we're trying to accentuate weaknesses and or accentuate weaknesses and strengths. He's not the damage dealer anymore. His damage is like it's a little better than an assault rifle, is what you find. The accuracy's a little bit worse, but it's a little better than an assault rifle. It doesn't crit quite as hard, but the fact that disruption AoEs, I can just lay 10 shots onto the guy in the middle of a pack, detonate, and then that entire pack is dealing like 54% of their total damage.
Now throw a Recluse in that mix. Whew.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, and the Recluse and you'll see it. The Recluse didn't get a massive he's not. It's not like you're not going to recognize him, but we did try and accentuate the potency debuffing aspect of him. He does a lot more enemy sort of debuffing. Real briefly, creeping death reduces their rate of fire.
Yeah, so you combo these guys together, you're reducing their damage and rate of fire. That's a pretty big.
Yeah, which is important because these guys wreck you otherwise. Our chosen aren't anything to scoff at. They mean business. So debuffing them is really critical.
There's a shot of the teleport shot and showing that the assault's now taking less damage. I went down because I don't know. I think I missile barraged when I should have stayed on the floor.
Again, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah. So since we're in the archetype, we didn't do this for the recon, but do we want to cover like the Rhino really quickly?
Yeah. So the Rhino has been defined by I call him a CQC bully, a close quarters combat bully. So basically, all of his abilities do some form of pushing or pulling. We added the gravity grenade. Now sucks enemies in towards the center. You can run. You can run against it. Like in PvP, you can climb and crawl out of it, but it does actually like draw you in towards the center.
Prone and crawling confirmed.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
It's kind of hard without video. It's kind of hard to explain how his primary fire works.
Yeah.
But let's just say it's not called this now, but in development we called it the weaponized mining lance, and we built a piece of mining machinery meant for flesh, and so it's rhythm. Its combat archetype is kind of like a shotgun, like a combat shotgun, like really, really, really strong in close quarters combat, really limited range, but like some of the best just raw DPS you're going to find, but it has a lot of limitations based on range. And then the alt fire is similar to the HMG shield, like that forward shield, except this one can take damage and it's really weak. So it goes down really quickly, but it also only holds for about a half second. But you want it to go down. You want the shield to take damage, because if the shield breaks, it explodes outward really violently, knocking back all the enemies and basically killing any grunt that's standing in front of you.
So the reason why we didn't show a Rhino, the big reason why is David asked me, like, hey, does anyone know Rhino really well? And we haven't played the new one. So, and you said it's very high risk but high reward.
Yeah,
so it's
the
hard
Rhino,
to show off properly.
Yeah. So if you just hop into the Rhino as like a fresh player, you're probably gonna die, because you have to know how to maneuver through a space and actually close gaps safely. Like, because his engagement range is at best, like, it's technically 30 meters, but like honestly, it's like 25 or 50 or 20 or 15 or something. And so you have to actually figure out how to safely get in close range. And once you do, they're dead. Like, there's no contest. But it's all about actually getting there. And so you have to do things like use your gravity grenade to provide you cover so you can close those gaps. You probably want to save your charge for when you're close up. Because charge, in addition to all the things it did before, every time you punt an enemy with your charge, you also get armor applied to you. So the more guys you hit, the more damage reduction you stack up.
That's nice. Is there a stack limit on that, or it's just? I'm sure there's.
No, not really.
Oh.
I mean, like, eventually you
it's
just
short. Like.
I mean, the duration's not super long, and eventually, like, you're gonna hit 100%.
Yeah.
But the stacks sort of fall off in the order that they're applied. Yada yada.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so you're not gonna stay at 100% for long. But as you're charging, and we also disable your weapon during the charge. And so we played with the damage and the duration to sort of compensate, but you drop your weapon, and all you're doing is charging in that mode, but you start just stacking up armor. And then Repulsor Blast,
Sundering Wave, I think.
Sundering Wave, yeah. We sort of took Repulsor Blast and Sundering Wave and sort of jammed the best of both worlds together into one ability.
Yeah, I think we combined, it's basically Sundering Wave and Attracting Repulsor Blast even combined
together.
together.
So now it's 360 degrees. All enemies nearby get sucked towards you briefly, and it jams their weapons. Like whoever's for like 1 second, their weapons stop working, because we found if we didn't, they were just shooting you the whole time, and it just hurt really bad. And and it provided a nice little bit of crowd control. Like, it was kind of interesting. And so it sucks them forward and jams their weapons for a second, and then blasts them away violently. And for every enemy you strike with Sundering Wave, you get a flat damage increase.
Oh my goodness.
And so you want to charge in to close that gap, weave through as many of them as possible, maybe even cluster them, and then pull them in with a Sundering Wave.
This one
and then blast them away, and now you have all this bonus attack damage, all this bonus defense, and you're also doing insane short-range damage. But like you say, OP, it's really going to be sink or swim. Like, as far as PvP OPness, we're balancing those separately. Like,
yeah, so PvP is being balanced completely separately.
PvP gets balanced totally separately, and that's the right way to do it.
And we're probably going to have Kevin Lee on to talk about what we're going to do with PvP later on. Probably maybe next month. We were supposed to have him on next week, but I'm traveling, so we'll probably have him. We're going to try and have him on next month to talk about PvP a little bit.
But yeah, it's really going to be about, like, the Rhino's really going to suffer. Like, if there's a recon with line of sight on the Rhino, that Rhino's going to have a really hard time closing those gaps. And so that's really going to be where that play is it's not, once he gets close, that the battle's sort of already been, once you let him get close to you, the battle's already been decided. It's really about how well can you keep away from the Rhino. So Assaults are also going to do pretty well against Rhinos. But I imagine like a Bastion's probably going to have a tough time. That's probably a good counter. So.
Cool.
It all comes out in the wash.
So we showed those four. We're on our fifth now, which means we're getting right into the Assaults. And we're going to start with Tiger Claw.
Oh, the Assaults are so showy. Oh my goodness.
They're showy. They're really cool.
They're all offense.
Can I say that when I was playing, when we had to reshoot all the replays, and I'm playing with Mika, Brad, and Rico and Carly, there was a wave where all four of them went down for some reason, and I was able, with the Tiger Claw, to survive that round. I think round 4. I was able to survive that round, and it was just dodging around, being really careful.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there were no Juggernauts, because apparently Juggernauts are my biggest weakness in Holdout. Every time he's like, get behind something.
Oh, don't face
Stop it.
Are you a mammoth? No. Hide.
They are awesome.
Simple rules.
Phobos, I'm going to kill you. So here we got the Tiger Claw doing Trailblaze now, and Trailblaze has a little bit of a different mechanic.
Yeah, so Trailblaze, rather than, it still uses deploys as a stat, but a little differently. It's a one-time use ability. But again, sort of like with Teleport Beacon, we wanted it to be something that your team could take advantage of. Because again, if you're trailblazing, you're either rushing into combat or you're rushing out of it. And there's probably a couple of friends that wish you weren't leaving them high and dry. And so now Trailblaze, as you run, you get this big boost of speed, and you leave an energy current behind you, and any ally that passes through that current or stays within the current gets a big speed boost along with you.
Yeah, it's
so,
great for traveling.
Yeah, so the Tiger Claw can sort of can lead the charge, and then everyone can sort of follow in his wake, or lead the flee, lead the route, and then everyone can run away like cowards with him. His primary weapon, for the most part, stayed fairly similar. We added crit damage to it, so you can now headshot with the fusion cannon.
I saw that. I had a couple slow-mo kills in there. I was like, oh,
it's
I'm
pretty
headshotting.
powerful. Yeah. And then the alt fire, it charges up like you're sort of used to, but you can actually attach it to targets. Oh, and then yeah. So one of his most showy abilities. He has two really showy. Well, they're all really showy.
We'll see that play a lot.
Yeah.
So
he has an ability called Missile Barrage, which replaces Missile Shot. Missile Shot, we deem not it didn't change your play pattern enough to really be an interesting use of your time. It was sort of a question of like, why am I using this, over my primary weapon and things like that. So we really wanted you to enter this cool state where you get to sort of be this, archangel. And so, what was that?
Just the word you had to use there.
So yeah.
And so what we see is
That's a bit of disruption comboed.
Oh yeah, and we'll talk about disruption in a second. So when you use Missile Barrage, you hover in the air.
Like an angel.
You hover in the air, similar to an angel, and you unleash a volley of rockets that all track towards your cursor, and you get to hover for free for that short duration, and then that sort of plays with the Tiger Claw's passive, which gives energy every time you use an ability. So it lets you have this really extended sort of airtime. What it comes out to is without a whole lot of mods applied, you get about a third of your charge bar back every time you use of your energy bar back every time you use this ability.
And one of the things I saw in the tooltip is it does increase damage to targets under 50% health, I think. I don't know if that's still the case.
Yeah, I worked on it a while ago. I don't remember. That might be the case.
It's possible.
Yeah, but it also, again, it has charges. So you can chain these together over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
To stay in the air for a really prolonged amount of time. And then if you concentrate on things like ability recharge and charge limit, you can get people that feel like they can fly for almost ever.
One thing with my Tiger Claw, and you'll see in a little bit with the Firecat, is I have the legendary item, or two of them, both equipped that we showed off in the itemization tooltip. Undying Sun, which I didn't get any good shots of it proccing because it saved my ass a lot. But if you see the jump jets, there's little, the effects are a little bit different, and that's from Skybreaker. Because that's one of the things that legendary item does is change your jet effects. So you have that little electrical tingling stuff, tendrils coming out. So the jets look a little different. So that's not stock. That's actually a product of me having a legendary reactor equipped.
Yeah, and then I'm hoping we'll see a good shot of, because you had a couple of really good plays with disruption shot or disruptor.
It was just one actually, but
well, it stood out to me. But so disruption now, we define sort of the Tiger Claw as someone who's really responsive and controls the battlefield, and so he can, his primary weapon and Missile Barrage sort of say that no matter where I am, I can respond to a problem almost anywhere on the battlefield. I'm up in the air sort of surveying the problem. And then we wanted to sort of accentuate that aspect of control about him by giving him some good crowd control. And so this is really good for bosses like Juggernauts, Chain Gunners, Mortarmen, things that with tons and tons of HP that really punish you if you stand in front of them. Is he arcs out electricity at the target, and the target gets stunned for, I think right now, 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And then that target becomes the center of an electric AoE, basically becomes a lightning rod, and shocks all nearby targets. Only the one at the center, giving them all the lame themes. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Only the one at the center actually gets stunned, but all of them take damage. So you pick the one that's going to deal the most damage, and you can just lock him down for your team. Or if there's someone solo, it's a really good use.
And one of the things you can see in the replay there is after the stun ends, he gets knocked back.
Yeah, it was kind of like those old. It's sort of this old like hokey idea that you see in like old movies where like you touch the live wire and you're like and then boom and then there's always that pop at the end that sends you flying back. It's very comical, but it sort of it gets intuited pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's been like the Tiger Claw's been really popular, at least in the office. I see a lot of people playing him. Like we'll do horde mode tests, and it's like, oh, 4 Tiger Claws.
Yeah, Tiger Claw looks.
He's just fun.
He looks amazing.
You just want to go fast.
Just want to go fast.
So fast. We cut you off because we got distracted by this missile barrage because it's so cool.
Yeah,
I had 3 charges of it. I was trying not to just spam it, but the alt fire of the fusion cannon, we didn't complete the thought on that.
Oh yeah, so the alt fire it launches, and I really like the fact that you can detonate it in the air, or the fact that you detonate it at all with your primary fire. It has this nice fusion element to it. It sort of sold the theme, and we wanted to make it a little bit easier to use, but also give it some more dimensions. And so when you fire that alt fire, the orb moves out, and you can still shoot it out of the air like always. The damage and the AoE are like really dramatically buffed. Like it's a huge explosion. You're really rewarded for wanting to use it. His rate of fire is really low, and so if you have like a pack of grunts, the best, rather than hitting them like twice each to like knock them down, your best chance might just be to use a Nova Ball in the center and just deal with them in one shot.
And the Nova Ball moves a lot faster than it does in production. Like I noticed anyway.
Oh, okay,
the projectile speed is
it's
decent.
It's
not
more usable, I think.
Yeah.
Like it gets to where you're going a little bit more predictably. Also, it attaches, instead of detonating on impact, it attaches to whatever you strike, be it a player or a character. Not really a player, but be it like an enemy or the ground, or if it's in the air, and then you can shoot it again to detonate it. So you can hit an enemy, and then he is holding a Nova Ball on him, and the next time you shoot him, he explodes. And then it wasn't necessarily intended when I built it, but once I found it was there, I really liked it and decided to keep it. Was
design accidents.
Oh yeah, they're gorgeous. Is you strike an enemy, you put a Nova Ball on them. It does no damage when it's on them, but if you headshot them, it also multiplies the damage of the Nova Ball.
Oh, that's really cool.
And so Nova Ball headshots do insane damage. Like at level 30, you're seeing like 28, 30k, something like that. Something not to be scoffed at.
That's pretty great. So that I think we covered Tiger Claw for now. So
yeah, that's pretty much.
We could jump into everyone's been asking for us to show this since the start.
You guys are going to be...
Firecat.
Okay.
Firecat.
If you haven't seen him in the background running around...
You have.
I'm just going to let this speak for itself.
This has been spoiled on the forums a little bit, but yeah, we'll just let that happen for a little bit.
S'mores. Yes.
So, he has a flamethrower now, if you can't tell.
So the alt fire there is laying patches of oil.
Well, we're calling it accelerant.
Okay, it lays accelerant on the ground.
Or on enemies. You can soak enemies in accelerant.
That's
too.
right. And your abilities and weapon, your fire abilities and weapon.
Just your weapon. Just the primary shot from your...
It was when I was testing, it was tagging off of.
Well, that's great because we've been trying to get that work. Okay, but so
Inferno Dash.
Okay, well, is Inferno Dash doing it?
Yeah, Inferno. It was tagging off Inferno Dash.
Mission accomplished. That means we got some tech delivery. That's what that means. Good news. But yeah, so the fuel patches, you can put them on the ground, and then you can light them, and then they, naturally like fuel does, it lights on fire. You can also spray enemies with it. And enemies who are soaked with the accelerant take double damage from your passive.
Oh.
And it also refreshes the passive.
Well, that was weird.
So like a really good combo is when you see a group of enemies, you first do like one swipe to sort of cover them and the ground in oil, and then you swipe the other direction with your flamethrower to light them all on fire and light the oil underneath them on fire, and then you just sort of like engulf them in an inferno.
So that's just, I was just showing the alt fire there. That didn't really do the primary justice there.
There you go.
I mean, the primary is just kind of, I guess it does create headshots. Or at least that was a slow-mo kill. But, I mean, you could sustain, I don't know what's going on with this. It's probably just bad cutting. But yeah, you could just sit there and spray them with the, basically your little projectile thrower, or fluid thrower, kind of.
Yeah, like
it's kind of like a flamethrower.
Yeah, it's like an actual flamethrower, in which we, rather than it shooting just this big comical gout of flame, we have it shooting a stream of something that feels like someone lit gasoline on fire. It's lit fluid. And so it kind of it feels kind of like that. And that's why you can also fire basically unlit fluid with your alt fire. It has really generous AoE. It lights all the targets nearby on fire. It does really good damage. And also, it does more damage as you heat the weapon up. So you want to actually keep the weapon hot as you're firing it, because like the damage like doubles. I want to say it doubles over the course of the heat generation. And so if you flutter it on like the top end, that's how you're really going to be doing your best DPS. And then there's sort of this final, like the plasma cannon, like you guys may or may not have played with, it can overheat. And it disables the weapon while it's overheated. But like Frank just did now, when you overheat the weapon with the Firecat, your abilities do double damage. And so it's a great way, like if you light everyone on fire, you lead in hard with your flamethrower. You can overheat it on purpose, so you can lead into things like thermal wave. And thermal wave's gotten some love too, and hopefully we'll see you use it here shortly.
I've used it a little bit there.
Yeah. So
there it is.
There we go. So this is the perfect combo that I'm talking
cool.
about. So Frank overheated his weapon and then led directly into thermal wave. Thermal wave puts a forward shield in front of you, just so you can stand right in front of your enemies. And then you move into a damage state where you put away your weapon and you project fire outwards in a cone that also punctures targets and shields.
People seem kind of nervous that the Firecat's getting gutted with this weapon update. I gotta say, I've used it. It's pretty brutal. It's lethal. Like I was just cutting things down with that thing. It's got a really good range on it. That overheat mechanic to like comboing your abilities. Like there were moments where I have shockwave there. You might be able to see on the interface where I overheated and then just laid an entire wave to waste with the shockwave.
And then finally, Firecat, his Inferno has also gotten a change. So
yes, so I don't think I had it there. You've seen it in other Battleframe
You've seen it, but you probably didn't know what to make of it. So Inferno, sorry, Incinerator. No, Inferno.
No, it's Immolate.
Immolate. God, there's so many fire words. Sorry.
Fire words.
Immolate has gotten an interesting change. So we found in general there's a lot of abilities like Poison Trail and things where previously we encouraged you to run straight through a pack of enemies, and sort of in the combat environment we have now, that gets you killed. Especially with like sort of like all offense no defense classes like the assaults. Like a Rhino, like a Mammoth can sort of do that because he has a bunch of defensive abilities to sort of stack on to allow him to be in the middle of enemies, but the Firecat can't. And so we had to figure out what would be the good role for that ability to take, and we still wanted it to be AoE. And we wanted it to have these interesting use cases. So now, when you strike someone with this ability, it's targeted on someone else, and it traps them inside a thermal thunderdome that's on fire. And so you can't shoot in, they can't shoot out. The dome can be destroyed, and that ends the damage early. So if you sort of use it on, if you throw it on like a Juggernaut or something, and he's just about to fire, there's a decent chance he's just going to tear the thing down. But you can sort of use it smartly. It's really great on like grunts and shock troopers and things like that. And it'll trap them in the dome, and it's sort of like an I'll deal with you later move. It's a good way to put a group of enemies aside and say, let's wait like 6 seconds. Or not 6 seconds, like 4 or something. And I'll come back to you while I deal with your friends over here.
Rip Immolate and Overcharge. But you'll have Thermal Wave.
Yeah, but the whole kit comes together really nicely. You have the ability to do interesting things, like you can lay fuel down, light it on fire, and then trap everyone who's in the fire patches in this dome, and then you step away, because he's a lot of what he does is dot damage, and so it gives you a chance to sort of like lay your dot damage on and then step away.
Comment on chat there is Immolate was fine the way it was. It was an effective tool. Well, like David just mentioned, we're touching everything, not just the battle frames. We're touching the enemies too. So Immolate, if you're running into a big patch of enemies, is probably a death wish.
Yeah. If you jump into the middle of them without some way to either, if they have any sort of aggro on you at all, and if you're in the middle of them, you probably do, they're just going to turn to you and kill you, which previously, like our time to deaths for players are much longer, and just in general, we're shifting away from the combat pacing has changed. And so I agree, like on live, it does work fine, but this is a response to the changes to the enemies as well as the overall battle frame. And I think you're really going to like it. Once you get your hands on it, you're really going to dig it.
Yeah, and I think also here for the thermal wave, the fire shooting forward, you also get, it looks like I have to be up close for that, but it actually has a decent range on it.
It does have a pretty decent range. I want to say like 25 meters, something like that.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of its range, so I was up close just to try and get some damage in there.
But you also want to punch through as many targets as you can. So the closer you are to the lead guy, the closer you are to the guy in the back as well. And you really want to get as many people in that cone as you possibly can.
Yeah.
You meant to do that. That was the strategy.
That's the strategy.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
the strategy.
All that fire. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the Firecat does more fire now.
Oh, he's so fire.
He's
So fire, such flame.
So that's a quick look at the battle frames. Then there's people were asking about the Nighthawk.
Yeah.
I think you were saying like the Nighthawk more or less stayed.
So the Nighthawk was really about his gun. And
Yeah.
so we did a lot of work with his gun to make that feel good. And so, I mean, a quick overview is his headshot damage is through the roof. He can really successfully one-shot kill enemies as long as he's staying precise. Let's see. Remote explosive was changed to remote flashbang.
Yep.
So it now has a stun component to it. So it's a really great way, if there's a pack of enemies coming, you can stun the group very shortly and get a couple of good headshots in before they become offensively capable to you.
And then there was I think there was like a little change to execution.
No, I don't. Well, the change is that we added some better effects messaging to when your ambush perk was active, because your ambush perk is really, really potent. And now we actually have effects messaging on it, so you can tell when it pops on and falls off. And it still has all the same things where it will refresh. It'll refresh your ambush perk on every kill, and it'll refresh it when it's activated. Now it's just a lot more clear that it's doing that.
Okay, that's really cool then.
We also the smoke screen got a similar treatment as Power Field, and so you pick it up once and you go. And so we adjusted the duration and things to compensate for that. But it's a lot simpler where you throw it down, and people aren't sort of tempted to just sit there and like walk back and forth through this smoke screen. Rather, you can throw it down and your entire team can pick it up and go, and the duration's been extended to sort of account for that. But then once you grab it, it diminishes.
Okay. Reading chat, Ronan's Creed said, make Firecat more close range, capable assault and to stay close range and gain defense. I think one of the big problems there is that you're now gaining overlap with either the Mammoth or the Rhino.
Yeah.
When we're trying to keep it apart. And the Firecat's mostly about, I think one of the things you wrote is ideal massive amounts of damage in a large area.
Yeah. And he is close range. Like, he does need to stay up close and personal, and that's why he's the only assault that's gotten any level of defensive capabilities attached to him, is because he does need to stay close. His thermal cannon's range is, I want to say, 30 meters, something really, really short. And so you have to get up close and personal with them. So it's important that you're able to do things like set enemies aside. But his dot damage is huge. His AoE is massive. We've buffed his passive, so his passive is doing more damage now as well.
A lot of people are really upset about the Firecat. I honestly felt like it feels really good.
It does.
I think you guys really should try it out next week.
Oh yeah.
When it's on PTS, and give us feedback, because we've already reacted to the plasma cannon feedback.
Yeah.
From that we got like back when people were like, I don't like the way the plasma cannon feels. So some of the changes we made was I think you made was like it doesn't have a clip anymore.
Yeah.
So it's just like straight like.
Yeah, there's too many
ammo.
resources to manage on
Yeah.
it. We also
It doesn't
now
generate
has,
heat as fast, I think.
Yeah, you can get more shots in. We also removed the flat damage over the AoE, so now you are again incentivized to actually nail enemies directly with the shot. And so we have been reacting to it, but the Firecat is really good. It's one of the more popular frames in the office. It aesthetically feels good. Play-wise, it feels really good. It's really powerful, really potent.
Yeah,
So.
I think. I mean, but again, I just want to illustrate that when you guys play it and provide the feedback, we will look into that feedback and make changes based on how you guys are feeling about it. So David's I guarantee you, he's gonna be in there on PTS when everyone's in there.
Yeah.
He's gonna be in there like asking you to play with him, like, hey, let's go do stuff.
Just like I did last time.
Exactly what you did last time. Like, hey, let's go play. And I think you guys really need to get your hands on it before we before we jump into like complete freak out mode.
Yeah.
I think.
And we did cover Teleport Beacon later. I would watch the YouTube playback.
Yeah.
Because you'll see some shots of Teleport Beacon.
Yeah,
going
Teleport
on.
Beacon's
Oh,
really
so showy,
cool.
so flashy.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and then we briefly did touch on the Recluse. Now, most of what you liked about the Recluse is still there. He now has Poison Trail.
Yeah, Poison Trail's been
We
moved to
took
Recluse
because
exclusive.
basically all the advanced frames lost one ability because of you branching at 20 and us giving you a new ability every 5.
Make sure to get up early.
I don't know. So I can play with him. Well, I'm on the West Coast, so I'm sort of naturally I have that advantage of always being. Actually, no, that makes me get up later. Dang it, time zones. But yeah, so we gave Poison Trail to the Recluse. And the Poison Trail, we don't have a shot of it, but it looks really cool. And similar to what we had to do with Inferno, is you now shoot Poison Trail, and you fire a swarm of insects that bounce around the area and leave a trail of smoke behind them. And so you can like bounce it around walls. If it's a really tight space, you can rebound it and really fill a space with smoke. And it gets you the same sort of play experience. I'm running away from someone. I'm trying to stop like an Annihilator from closing on me. And you can sort of lay that path and then walk backwards through it to sort of force enemies to move through it. Similar to how you'd sort of backpedal with it on.
Yeah.
You do something very similar. And then at the same time, you can get it through a group of enemies, but now you probably couldn't survive just running through and face tanking all their shots. So now you can sort of have this swarm of insects do your heavy lifting for you.
Nice. Yes, you can bounce insects on walls.
Yeah, you never tried it?
Confirmed. Well, wow, we're over time.
Oh, okay.
So, wow. So, I mean, you're going to be able to see all of this stuff again. We're aiming for Tuesday. That's the current plan. As you know, things can go wrong. So we want you guys to get on there and test it out.
Yes, please. It's huge.
Everyone's talking about Arsenal. Arsenal won't be a part of this test. We don't have it. We're not talking about it yet. So we're, like I said at the beginning of the show, we're talking about everything up to level 30. That's going to be on PTS next week, and Arsenal's not in a spot where we're talking about it yet.
Cool. And I think I'll try and shut up now because I think there's a couple more things of business you guys have to handle up.
We do. We're going to get into everyone's. We're going to get into I don't know, Olive Gaming's favorite segment. Say that.
Do you even art, bro?
What's that?
These don't taste good.
I can't imagine it.
Do you
How many entries do
even
we have
art,
for Even Art Pro?
bro?
We have one because it's so awesome that it just shined so
majestic.
brightly. Rainbows overflowed from its awesomeness. Made from I can't think of anything else. By David.
Yeah. So
Yay!
Last time I was on, I mentioned that I wanted to enter the art contest because I love it when you guys submit fan art because it's so inspiring for us. Like when we see like fan art coming in from the community, it's so cool. So I wanted to sort of participate with you guys. So I had an entry.
Awesome. So let's show us the awesome entry. This is so cool. So you have an assault beating up a chosen. Well, I guess that battle could be going either way right now.
Unresolved.
It's up for you to decide.
That's really cool. So you actually like you cobbled a bunch of miniatures.
I do a lot of miniature gaming, and so I have a lot of bits, and so I cobbled this together out of a bunch of bits. This is also I don't know. I think a lot about Firefall, and so it was kind of me cracking out and not being able to shut off when I go home. And so yeah, I built this out of like styrofoam. Most of it's like pink styrofoam and a bunch of hard work and bits that I've collected over the years that I've assembled into a assault and a chosen chain gunner.
That's really well done.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a winner. Wait.
Home court advantage.
Yes. But we actually weren't going to do it because we figured we were going to go over time anyway.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
But since David promised we would have his art, we wanted to show that off. I'm glad you got that done. It looks really awesome.
Cool, thanks.
Maybe we can take some closer up pictures and post them.
Or like video or something,
And maybe something like that, yeah. But we can take some
angles.
pictures to show you guys how cool that thing really is. And then last but not least, as we always like to end the show, we should have Knife Lady OS boot up.
Boop, 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 boop.
Boot up. Is Knife Lady OS online? Online.
Finally, I materialized a merch pet.
So
Mika.
Cute. So cute.
DJ Almond in the club.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
They will never know who switched the assault rifle sound to the Nyan Cat song. Nyan, nyan, nyan. It's time to turn off one of the mics during Firefall Live. Let's see how long it takes for the Twitch chat to notice.
I think one of our audio guys used to do that just to troll us.
New mobile app. How to DJ in 1 week. Yes, Larry, I did just flip the switch. It's time for you to say goodbye. I will enjoy the sounds of your screams. Mwahaha.
What?
Seconds before the soundboard was infused with coffee.
Yes. Pretty much.
True story.
Mika told me to make a caption.
I was like, hey.
I was
awesome.
charged.
Yes.
That's the last one.
You delivered.
That's the last one.
Moving down. Pew.
Just a reminder, there's the third annual, or not the third annual, the third Home Gang dueling event is happening this Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's this Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You check that in the community events forums. It's going to be a biotech brawl. So the rules are all in the original thread. You can check it all out there. So be sure to check that out. I think we're giving away to the winner Celestial Wings, which is pretty badass.
Yes.
I forget the rest of the prizes, but I mean, if
They
you
were
win, you get
equally
Celestial
awesome.
Wings. So
Yes.
everything else is invalid.
Aw. I was trying to like make it nuts. Okay.
Do you remember what the other ones were?
No, I remember they were pretty good though. I was
There's
like,
VIP for 4th and 5th.
Yeah, those ones are usually the VIP prizes.
We still have people freaking out about the Firecat. Again, guys, please try it. I mean, it's hard to just look at it and hear us talk about it to
he's
say
real good.
it's not good. I mean,
Yeah,
please
he's real good.
try it and give us honest feedback. Really let us know how you like it. It's badass. I've been having a lot of fun with it as an assault player. I mean, I always say Electron's close to my heart, and I think you did a great job with Electron too.
Cool, thanks.
Electron felt really good. So it's going to be, all of these are going to be really exciting. I'm excited to see what people are going to think and when they test out everything and let us know. Just the chat is hysterical right now. You guys are cracking me up. Oh my God.
I think they're duking it out themselves.
They're just,
They're doing a job.
I'm
for us.
gonna step out of there and just,
Yeah.
nope. You guys want to do this? Let's let it go.
But yeah, be vocal on the PTS forums. We're going to be really relying on people to play and then also give feedback on the PTS forums.
Yeah, definitely
And that's where
try-
I tend to haunt. So
Yeah, definitely try things out. We'll be responsive to the feedback out there, and and we're hoping for that next Tuesday. Bing. There should have been a lot of heads up in this episode. Thank you, David, so much for your time.
thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
And thank you, Mika, for organizing the Firefall Live and
Dying.
dying as the biotech, like, giving me those juicy clips to be like,
Yeah. So good.
That was like the embodiment of what happens when when an assault tries to face tank the Juggernaut. It's like, zap, you're dead. Oh.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
Don't do that.
Don't do
Okay.
that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Lesson learned.
Update for Firefall Live. Next week I'm traveling. The week after I will still be traveling. I will return the week after that. So for the next 3 weeks, though, we will not be having Firefall Live. When we come back, we're going to try and get Muffin Man on, who's our lead PvP designer. We'll talk about some PvP. Other scheduled guests, I don't know about the order of this, but we're probably going to have the concept artists on. That's probably going to be more in September, but we want to show off a lot of the cool things they've been doing. So concept artist show, I think will be a great show, and we'll probably have a lot of concept art to give out to people afterwards. and I think we're gonna have the other sound guys on. They want to crack at.
Yeah.
They want to respond to Frank and Nick's show from last week. So
Yeah.
we're gonna be doing that. Yeah. Yes, I'm gonna go see the new Firecat Riot thread. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Well, I'm probably gonna stay out of it because again, it's impressions, and I don't want
Made him too cool.
You know, we're gonna let you guys discuss it. So, other than that, we'll see you guys next week. Take care, or not next 4 weeks.
Me.
Cheers, y'all.
Me.